them in place. They keep us in chains. By show of hands, who else is sick and tired of the same? 1% trying to keep us small, trying to keep us from getting out. Minimizing the struggles they've caused, saying we're not working hard enough.
We really should stop this fighting. Otherwise, we'll miss the fireworks.
There won't be any fireworks.
And here we go.
And welcome, everybody, to Suck It! I am the great and powerful King of Kings, Prince of all that is awesome, Derek. How the fuck is everybody today on this Thursday, November 5th of the horrible year that is 2020? Yeah, it just keeps getting worse and worse by the fucking day. I just hope, things somewhat get better. Is there a light at the end of the tunnel? Is there something there? Is there somebody there waving a white flag or something? Because I'm sick of the shit. But I'm not here to talk about the doom and gloom of the world today. I'm not here to talk about whether or not, who our new president or, current president won or whatever the case might be. I'm not here to talk about that. I'm here to do what I've been doing all week, and that's talking about music. Whether it was Tuesday talking to Kulik, whether it was yesterday talking to Emily Lazar of September Morning, or whether it's today talking to a band out of New Jersey. A lot of cool stuff going on with these guys, and I'm really, really stoked to talk to them. So let's just go ahead and get this thing rolling, because that's what we do best here, is talk music, talk movies, talk everything in between. But today, it's all about the music. So without any further ado, please welcome from New York sewer pit of New Jersey, the boys in Boy Blue. What's going on, guys?
What's up, Kevin, man? Thanks for having us, man.
Hey, no problem, brothers. How you guys doing?
Good. Can't complain.
It's kind of sad that you said you can't complain when we have every fucking reason to complain.
You're not wrong, bro. You're not wrong. But we're doing our own thing. Sometimes we just turn away from the stuff on the news.
I'm just staying away from Twitter for right now.
I don't even be going on Twitter, man. I can't.
Twitter's the worst.
Yeah.
That place is a cesspool. It's just you can't even get actual facts from the fucking president, because they're blocking everything he says too, because it's not factual. We don't even know what the hell. We don't know our ass from the hole in the ground at this point. It's just like a bad movie right now.
Oh yeah.
So, how things going for you guys musically? It's been a weird year, obviously. Can't tour, can't even go play a local club, and it's just one of those things that just sucks across the board. So, how are things going as far as you guys go?
Dude, it's so weird, but I'd like to think we're actually making the best of it. Basically, we can't do shows, but we were fortunate enough to get in the studio. It was a little different this time. There was a lot of safety precautions. We're doing music videos, so we're taking time to do behind the scenes stuff and work on do everything through social media, basically, man.
And as far as the writing goes, we were set to go to the studio back in April, right before shit hit the fan in the world. And during the quarantine, it gave us time to really work on more songs and come out with better songs. So by the time we were able to go in and record the new stuff, we had even better songs than we had planned originally. So in that effect, it kind of worked out for us.
Yeah, it's worked out a way, in that way for a lot of different bands. A lot of, bands, musicians, whatever, have stuff in the can, have been really kind of focusing on their craft this year. Some of them are holding off until, they can start touring again and release it. But a lot of them have been just out there, just creating some of the best music they've ever done. Yeah. How do you feel, about the whole creative process during this whole ridiculousness?
You want to take that?
Yeah, well, I think, like you brought up, the fact that every band, big or small, is kind of in the same boat right now. No one could really tour and play shows. So it's almost like the playing field has been evened out a bit. So really, during this whole process, this whole time period, it's been all about the content. So we've really being able to be more creative and put more thought and effort into the creative side of things, whether it's the music or the videos, and really just be as creative as possible with it. I think it's been working out for us.
Yeah, because I've talked to like I said in the intro, I talked yesterday to Emily Lazar of September Morning, and they're a theatrical band. I mean, they're very theatrical. I mean, they write comic books along with their music. I mean, kind of like Coheed, but at the same time, they act out the parts on stage, and it's very, very theatrical. And they have their album ready to go, but they're not ready to release it until next year when they can start touring again, possibly next year. Same thing with Avenged Sevenfold. They came out a couple weeks back and saying, hey, the album's ready to go, but we're not releasing shit until we can tour because we need that tour to do it. So, with bigger bands like those, it feels good because, like you said, now it's a level playing field because they're not even putting out the new music. They're waiting. But at the same time, all these up and coming bands, these newer bands are like, you know what, fuck it. I'm going to push everything out right now. I'm going to do everything I possibly can and get it out in front of the fans. In a year or two when those albums come out, if tours even start happening in the next year, I guess we'll find out, over the course of the next few months what's going to happen. Because, I mean, right now, the only thing that's, been announced for next year is Aftershock. Yeah. So who knows what's going to happen, but the whole idea of it as being an up and coming band and pushing it out now, I think is fucking genius, to be honest.
Yeah, I can't speak for every band, but as far as we go, I definitely, while there's no distractions, there's less distractions. We're releasing our best stuff right now while we can. It's kind of like there's more eyes on us, saying all the other up and coming bands releasing our music now. So that's kind of how we're going about it.
Yeah, I mean, because when you release an album on a Friday or release a single on a Tuesday or whatever the case might be, you're not up against Five Finger, you're not up against Papa Roach, you're not up against Hyperbale right now. You're up against Billy Bob up the street, or or the other the other artists from your own PR company. But at the same time, y'all are all doing the exact same thing, so it works out. It benefits y'all. So it works. It's leveling the playing field, but it's also raising the bar as far as that kind of stuff goes too, because you guys are the only thing putting out new music. And when I say you guys, I mean the indie artists and the lower the lower bands, but no one's when you're at the level you guys are at, no one's a lower band. So I just want to say that right now. But it's just I'm digging all the new stuff that's coming out because it's different and it's not being shoved down our throats by record labels. It's organic and it's natural. I like that.
Good point, man.
Yeah.
Good point.
And a good point. Our producer John Ferrara has told us right now, the way the music industry is right now, because there's no touring, no shows, like you said, the bar's being raised. People have to start putting in more effort into the actual content, the songs, because that's really all the banks have to go off of right now, the content itself. So I think, the bar's being raised. You got to put in more effort if you want to stand out. So, and again, that's kind of being a big factor in what's driving us right now.
Yeah, because I mean, not only the musically does it need to be good, but if you guys are going to put out a music video attached to it, it needs to be spot on redonkulousness. Otherwise, it's just going to be like, just somebody else just doing something just to do something.
Yeah, true.
You even know about that.
You wouldn't know about that?
About how hard it is and important it is going all out with the videos.
Yeah.
This guy Chris right here plays a huge part in the playing of our videos. He kills it.
Thanks.
Yeah, I mean, I'm getting ready to shoot a video for a local band here in the next coming weeks, and it's like there's so many thoughts in my head. I'm doing this, I'm doing that. It's like, what can we do to make sure this thing pops? It's got to, because otherwise it's like, otherwise it's just what's the point?
Yeah. What's the band?
I can't remember the name of the band. I just got messaged by him the other day. It's a band out of Maryland.
Okay, gotcha. Cool, man.
Yeah.
It's definitely more pressure, feeling the need to go above and beyond, but I think it makes it more fun and interesting,
Oh yeah. Interesting challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, especially because that music, musically, it's got to be the best stuff you've ever put out this year.
Yeah.
You know, it truly does. And, you know, there's been bands that, you know, are still riding the success off of an album they put out 2 years ago this year. But are doing something different with it or whatever the case might be, you know. I talk a lot about them on this show because they're just one of my favorite bands currently, and I think I love what they do. One of my favorite bands right now is Ice Nine Kills.
Yeah.
And last Thursday, they did a stream of a show that they did last year in Worcester. But they added, you know, this elements of, you know, a slasher movie in with the different songs, and it was interactive. It was this whole, you know, really cool thing. So it was a stream of something they already did, which I kind of liked because they didn't, like, you know, make it, you know, overproduce something in a studio. They just kind of did it, you know, whatever. But, you know, I dig what they're doing with that, and they're keeping it fresh, and they're, you know, staying in the eyes, you know. But then at the same time, you've got bands like Trivium, who rented out a freaking, you know, studio at Full Sail in Orlando and put together a huge freaking production to air, you know, on live.org, which is, again, a cool thing. But then at the same time, you know, I watched it. It was fantastic. But at the same time, it wasn't your typical Trivium show.
Yeah. I've seen a couple bands, our friends in Green Knuckle Material, they're also from here in Jersey. They've been doing live streams a lot at studios, and I think that's a great move for them. I'd actually like to do that at some point.
Definitely.
Yeah, see, back in July and August, I did a series of live streams for local bands and a couple national acts as well, to where, you know, I just gave them a platform to, you know, come on a show. At the time, I was getting like 20,000 downloads at an episode. But, you know, these guys, you know, weren't, you know, whatever. You know, and they were just, you know, they're just ecstatic to be playing. I mean, there was one band called by the name of Eben Nova that, you know, have a barn out back that they do all the recording in, and they just set up a huge, you know, sound, you know, area and put production up and did this really badass stream instead of a barn. You know, and it was just really cool. And I think I ended up doing like 20 some odd bands over the summer, just, you know, again, giving them a stream, you know, and giving them a platform. And it was awesome, but it only made me miss live music even more.
I hear you, man. Yeah, it's great, but, you know, it's great for now, but it's just not the same as being at the show and taking it in. And yeah, I hear you.
Yeah,
but it's better than nothing, dude.
Yeah, it's weird. Even the big bands, like you said, you know, they can't tour, play live shows, so even they have to kind of reinvent the wheel here, you know, and put on these crazy live streams and stuff, you know.
Yeah, and the live streams aren't cheap either, or at least the well produced ones aren't cheap,
right?
And you know, so but at the same time they can't turn around and charge them an arm and a leg for something, because it's not going to be worth it just to sit there and watch it on TV or watch it on your phone. You know, more power to Corey Taylor, who did it last month at the Forum, but he was charging. I did.
Nice, dude. I wish I got to see it, man, but we were just so busy at the time, dude.
But at the same time, it was $25 a ticket, and I was like, you know, I was like, I get it, you know, but $25 to sit there and watch a concert on my TV, it was cool. Don't get me wrong, I love Corey, and it was fantastic. But at the same time, it was like, it was $25, and I didn't get to experience it. You know, I would have rather spent, you know, like last year when I spent my $65 to go see Slipknot, you know, with Volbeat last year versus $25, you know, but at the same time, it's like, you know, it's just not the same. But I still enjoyed it, and I don't know if I would do it again for that much money. But like Trivium was only $8 when they did theirs, so it's like, you know, it's just, you know, I don't know. It was great, but it only made me miss live music even more.
Yeah, dude, I know Corey got actually some backlash from a lot of Slipknot fans for doing that live and charging, and for doing his solo stuff. Dude, like, I really like his new solo stuff, but did you see what is it? CMFT Must Be Stopped?
The video?
Yeah.
Thing is badass. I fucking love that video.
I enjoyed it, but someone actually put in the comments, do you remember the song All Out Life, the song?
Yeah.
So someone quoted the rant in the song, "I will not worship empty shells. I will not listen to worthless noises." I was like, dang, like Slipknot fans are really giving this guy a hard time. You know, he's trying to. Yeah, I think tonight he's taking this opportunity to do his own thing while he can, while he's also in the quarantine. I'm a big fan of his, but I thought that was crazy.
Yeah, what I don't get about, you know, Slipknot fans, not Corey Taylor fans, not, you know, metal fans, I'm talking about just Slipknot fans, is, you know, they don't like Stone Sour, and Stone Sour fans don't like Slipknot, you know, and there's obviously a bunch of that crossover, don't get me wrong, but the hardcore Slipknot fans do not like Stone Sour and vice versa, and it's like, and then those same ones aren't the ones going to, you know, his spoken word tours or his acoustic tours, whatever else the case might be, you know, and it's like, I don't, it's the same dude. He's just doing things a little bit differently. Fucking appreciate it, you know?
Yeah, man. Yeah.
You know, and that was one of the things that I talked to Emily about yesterday was how fickle the fans in our genre are. Whether it's metal, whether it's, you know, ska, whether it's, you know, punk rock or pop punk or whatever the case might be.
True.
You know, everyone in the rock, the million different genres of rock that we have, we're all so fucking picky, and we like the bands that we like, and anything else in between we don't fucking support. You know, we'll spend $75 to go to Rock on the Range, or what used to be Rock on the Range, now it's Song and Temple, but, you know, for a 4-day event, and we'll sleep through the first half of the concert because we want to see Five Finger at the end of the show, but we don't care about Nothing More that was there, or Hailstorm that was there, or, you know, these little guys, you know, that are out there trying to do the same things, but, you know, or like Coachella back in 2016 when Volbeat was there. You know, the crowd was fucking empty for fucking Volbeat. You know, but as soon as Volbeat left the stage and the next EDM guy comes up on stage, everyone's fucking there. It's like, what the hell? You know, it just pisses me off because, again, you know, bands like, you know, you guys and everybody else like that, you know, if you guys went on tour with, hypothetically speaking, you know, Papa Roach tomorrow, okay, and there was 2 other bands along with you, you're going to get there, people are going to spend their $45-$50 for these tickets, and then it's going to be at 15 or 20% capacity when you guys play, and then it's going to go to 40%, and then it's going to be at 50%, and then it might stay good 100% when Papa Roach plays, but at the same time, the people that were there for the other bands, like, oh, fuck Papa Roach, I don't even want to stay, they might just leave, and then, you know, people might just show up just for Papa. It's so ridiculous. Like, last year I went to see, it was New Year's Day, Ice Nine Kills and Falling in Reverse, and there was one other band with them. I can't remember who it was. But, you know, New Year's Day, nobody was there. And then, you know, the next band was a little bit more. Then it packed out for Ice Nine. But then when Falling in Reverse came on, everybody, you know, like 30% of the crowd left, and there was less people for Falling than there was for Ice Nine. And I was just like, and it's like, you know, Ronnie Radke's an asshole, don't get me wrong, but he's still a pretty damn good musician, just to hang out for a bit at least.
Yeah.
It's like I said, the metal rock community is so fickle, here in America at least.
Yeah.
However, if you jump the pond and go to Download or Rock am Ring in Germany, people are awake 24/7 with a beer in their hand or whatever the case might be, and they're trying as hard as they can to stay awake throughout the entire fucking show because they just don't care.
Right.
And it sucks because, you know, you guys deserve more credit than that.
Yeah. I really don't know what to make of it, dude. But you remind me, I saw Sum 41. It was my last big concert before the quarantine. And after they were done, you weren't there, right?
No.
Farrah was with me and my sister. After they were done, about like 5 minutes go by and people are starting to clear out. And I don't remember who it was. I don't know who it was. But this dude comes out on a piano and they light up the stage again. And he's like, oh, playing the piano. And they're like playing this. It's like this big, like almost like
Who was it?
theatrical metal like act. I don't remember. I don't know who it was, dude. But it was crazy. But people were leaving. And I was like, okay, yeah, Sum 41 is better, but this is the best show that we've seen at this show tonight. Like, this is the most entertaining. I don't know who this
Put on
dude
a
is.
better show.
Yeah, like, this is just a spectacle right now.
A dude on a piano
Yeah, he was.
that was more theatrical.
Yeah. I really, and I'm like knocking the crowd, but I don't even remember who it was. But it was, yeah, it was cool. It was cool.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of who that would be.
All I'm saying, like, Derek, the thing is, like, if we were in a position that I'm thinking out loud here, if we were in a position where we were opening for one of those bigger bands where the crowd would, most of them would be there just for them, we got to do some stuff like that. Yeah. Like, you know, like.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Because, like, I remember back in 2014, I believe it was, down in Tampa, they have a rock station called 98 Rock, and they put on a concert every year called 98 Rock Fest. And this was Nothing More's first big, year on the tour circuit. Okay. And they were like second or third on the bill. There was two stages. There was the inside, which had the, Avenged Sevenfold was in there, Volbeat was in there, yada yada yada, and then outside, and the outside stage was headlined by Trivium. It was like 20 some bands, and they were like two or three on the fucking card. Okay. And if you've ever seen Nothing More before, that they go balls out with this weird, shit that they do. Johnny plays, an extra set of drums during certain songs, and he comes out and they play the song Christ Copyright first, and I've only heard at that point This Is the Time. Everyone at that point only knew This Is the Time. Mm-hmm. And he comes out, he starts just going ape shit on those fucking drums, and he's like he does without a shirt on, no shoes on, and he's jumping up on top of these drums and going crazy and doing this and doing that, and then later on in the show, that same drum rig that he uses, attaches the bass guitar, and he starts playing the bass guitar with drumsticks, and and I remember, and at that point in time, I just remember that. Yeah. Ask me who else was on stage during that. I remember, obviously it was, there was 12 other bands that day, but I remember 3 from the outside stage. It was Nothing More, Fozzy, because of Chris Jericho. I mean, everyone loves Chris Jericho. And then Trivium headlined it. But ask me about any other band from that day, I can't remember. And that's what stood out, and you're 100% right. Doing that theatrical element. Now, you don't need to go like all out, Rob Zombie theatrical or, Ice Nine theatrical, but having that one element that makes people go, holy shit, what the hell was that?
Yeah. Even a band like for me, Queen is one of my favorite bands. Just the performance was pretty theatrical. They didn't need like props and all kinds of stuff. It was just a crazy good performance, and just you know what I mean? You have to look at the dude on stage. So it's stuff like that. Like it's.
Well, see, what you're talking about, what I've preached forever on this show, is that there's a difference between being a musician, being an artist, and being a frontman.
Yeah.
So, you can be a good musician and go out on stage and have a really great show. But then, if you've got a frontman with a bunch of artists behind them, that's when it really stands out. And that's what Queen was. He was the greatest frontman of all time. I mean, I've watched, whatever that was back in the 80s, 105 times on YouTube, and it just stands out. And then, for the younger generation who saw Bohemian Rhapsody a couple years back, they got to relive that experience a little bit with it, because holy shit, he just did a great job with it. But there's just a certain element that, certain bands bring to the stage, like a Rob Zombie, who is very theatrical, but at the same time, you take away the theatrics and just watch him. He's a true frontman. Same thing with Aerosmith and Steven Tyler. Dude, he died 10 years ago, but, they put him up on puppet strings, and he still does the exact same stuff that he did then. Him and Mick Jagger, both are dead. I don't know if anyone even realizes that, but, they're just puppets at this point. I'm kidding. Don't everyone say, "Oh, no, they're not dead." I'm kidding. But and that's what it takes. It takes that true frontman status. Now, because look at a band like Breaking Benjamin. Fantastic, but Ben is just a really, really good musician. Frontman, he's decent at it, but he's not on the level of the ones I just mentioned. It's fun to go watch, that, but I noticed a huge difference last year or 2 years ago. 2 years ago? 2 years ago when I saw them with Five Finger, Ivan Moody is a real frontman. And then to watch, Ben go up on stage, it was like, okay, it was different,
Sure.
So when you guys all go up on stage, what are you guys trying to convey?
Oh, dude, it's so weird because we do put a lot of thought and conversation into that, but at the same time, we just really enjoy going up there and doing it and having a great time. So I just want the audience to have a great time. I want to have a great time. I want to have a good performance. I want to get the crowd interactive. I don't want them to just stand and watch ever. I think we've had
we definitely had conversations about what crazy stuff we can do. So sometimes it's hard to pull off, or or we think too big for at least some of the smaller shows we've played in the past. You know?
When we're at a show, I love all the bands we play with. I love Green Knuckle Potato, Oh Boy. I love 90% of the bands that we get to play with. I think are really good. But at the same time, dude, when we go up there, I'm trying to make sure that we bring the best show out of the lineup that day.
This conversation reminds me. Remember that one show where for some reason we were put on the same bill with a bunch of metal bands at Crossroads, I think it was, and we were the only pop punk band.
Been a long ass time ago.
It was still Boy Blue, actually. I think it might have been still, but anyway, we were the only pop punk band. Every other band on the bill was metal, and all the people in the crowd just stared at us and didn't even move a muscle during our whole set. Not even a courtesy clap or anything. They just stared at us, and it was so awkward.
What year was that?
It was a few years back. It wasn't that long ago. I can't remember what year.
I may have blocked that out completely.
I wouldn't blame you. But it was just awkward, like you said, how nitpicky rock fans could be of any genre, But yeah, we weren't a metal band, but it's they just stared at us, not even a boo, or I was taking some boos.
He said not even a boo.
Yeah, I was. It was just they were silent.
That's an ultimate failure when you don't piss them off.
Yeah.
And you don't. Get them.
That's even worse.
But yeah, man, I don't even remember that, but I'm sure that did happen at some point. Hold on, wait, Derek, I can't hear you.
Oh, that was my bad. Bad. I sometimes just mute myself and forget to take it off. But that always goes back to what we were talking about earlier with the pickiness of the fans. I remember a while back too. It was another festival that I went to, and the band in this moment was headlining the second stage. And the band that was on before them was a band, like a ska punk, pop band called the Supervillains. Okay. And the Supervillains were on right before, in this moment. And the crowd completely changed. I stay there for both because I enjoy both because I just think, the Supervillains are fucking badass. Yeah. Just a different type of sound. But it was just weird, the crowd just completely left. As soon as they left the stage, they just left. I just kind of chilled for a second, and then next thing I know, this overwhelming rush of these crazed Maria Brink fans just came out of the woodwork from the main stage just to come watch it, and then that was it. I was like, where were you guys at 10 minutes ago when, Supervillains were here? They just put on a great fucking show. Yeah. I mean, they did a cover of Billy Joel like they always fucking do. I mean, that's a great fucking thing. And yeah, it sucks because, again, those types of bands don't get the credit that they deserve, just like you guys just mentioned that, and it's not cool. Fucking metal guys, rock guys, fucking enjoy the music. Jesus.
Yeah, man. We try not to book on metal. We try to make sure we know who we're playing with.
Yeah.
But like,
unfortunately, you have to go about that just because you want a good show. Like, we play mixed genre shows, and we're more open minded. I guess we usually find something to appreciate with all the bands that are playing.
hell yeah.
Unfortunately, not everyone's like that though.
Yeah.
So, you guys, just put out the new album, or just getting ready to come out?
Well, we just put out a single.
Single, that's what it was. Okay.
Yeah.
So, how's that going for you right now?
It's cool, man. So it was a Halloween release, and it's it's a low key Halloween theme.
Mhm.
So the peak of it, I guess, is up at this point. But it was so cool, man. It was very. I'm very happy that we got to put it out. Everything, our ducks were all lined up in a row for this one. You know, oftentimes we run into problems on a release. You know, unexpected, whatever. But it worked out, man.
Yeah, I think it's been our best response so far to a song, so we're really happy about that.
So, again, I hate to go back to this exact same question, but, you know, how are you guys supporting it without the touring? And you guys just said you're not doing virtual or, you know, live virtual shows yet. So what exactly are you doing, you know, on that end to punch people in the face and say, hey, we're here?
Yeah, so we had Jaret Reddick on this one for Bowling for Soup, so we kind of played it up. We had some fun with our followers and did like a reveal on that. You know, we put out trailers, and we're also like we're big on we do like a lot of our own advertising. So I want to make sure that fans of certain bands are aware that we're here, you know, in America, UK, Brazil, wherever. So we do a lot of that on social media too. But yeah, man, we want to be transparent. And up until this, you know, all through the quarantine, we were posting different stuff. We did do one live stream, but it was just acoustic, wasn't a full band show. So a lot of it, we're sort of playing by ear. Whatever we want to do, we're going to figure out a way to do it. And then a lot of it, we really do plan out and map out. But as far as photo shoots, music videos, we've always done a lot of that stuff ourselves anyway. So we just go and do it, and we just go and put it out.
So let's talk about the history here for a second. Where, you know, how exactly did everything come about to get to the point of Boy Blue? Because I know there was a band before that. So what exactly was the history to get to where you're at today?
Yeah, man. Steve and I have been playing music for
since 2009.
Yeah, so like about 11 years.
We were like 14 years old when we first started.
Yeah,
really young.
Yeah, we grew up playing Bowling for Soup songs and Blink songs, and but we knew also we can't just do covers. We got to like write our own music. So we did that right from the start too.
Yeah.
And we did that all through high school, man. After high school, we had a period that was super weird. We put out an album, and it kind of just flopped because we weren't playing shows at our school anymore. You know what I mean? We were like supposed to be big boys now, and we didn't get that. And also, we didn't get social media at the time. So we had a band member who left, and he did get it. He was the one spearheading all of that at that time, but we didn't get. We thought that was corny at the time.
Yeah, even just 6 years ago, social media was like way different.
Yeah. But now you have to. Like, there's no way around it. So
yeah,
we're all in on social media, especially during the quarantine when you literally can't do any event.
Yeah, that goes back to just the raising the bar of the content.
Yeah. But man, we've always enjoyed it, and we've always taken it serious since high school. We've been hitting the studios since 2011 was our first time, or 2012 was our first time. So
yeah, and it also helped that my older brother Joe, during the old band, he wasn't a member at the time. When we were first starting out, he was the one person who wasn't afraid to tell us that we sucked and to get better.
Yeah, dude. And if it wasn't for him at that time, like saying no, try this, don't do that. You know, like I think we would have been. I think that's the only reason we were a little better than the other bands in our high school.
Yeah, I think a big problem that a lot of really young bands that first start out, if they're like teenagers in high school, is that they're surrounded by a lot of close friends or family members who just tell them what they want to hear, and don't want to hurt their feelings. But yeah, my older brother didn't hold back at the time. He would tell us what we were doing wrong, and it helped us get better and improve ourselves. And now he's a member of Boy Blue, so came full circle.
That story is a lot like everybody else's story too.
Yeah.
They start in high school and it's one concept, and then things change once they leave high school, and it's just not the same anymore. And then you got to find that completely new niche. But at the same time, that same niche was there the whole entire time. It's just how to redirect it. So, what do you credit? Who do you credit now for the success you've gotten to this point?
John Ferrara from Trophy Scars. He's our producer. He's been our producer for about 2 years. Yeah, we released our first song with him in 2018, and I remember he had a meeting with us, trying to get us to because right before that we did an EP on our own, an acoustic project, and I look back on it fondly, but to have kept going like that would have been a disaster. So John was like, get back in the studio, put some money into it, and let's do some real tunes.
Yeah, I would say he was the first person in our circle to make us think bigger,
Oh yeah.
Be like, always have the mindset you're not just competing with like your local bands. Even if you're an up and coming band, you want to think of the biggest artists as your competition, not just the people in your local scene. He helped us think bigger and put more quality into it. So I'd say he's been the biggest factor in the last 2 years.
Yeah, and as we released those songs, it just proved that he was right. Like, oh wow, look where we made it after we released this song. Like, look at the difference as the songs came out.
Definitely been results.
So John Ferrara.
So where do you guys want to go from here? I mean, the sky is the limit at this point. But at the same time, there's a huge brick wall standing in front of you and every other artist. So what exactly is your plan for the next year, if there is one? If not, how are you guys approaching each and every day?
Well, we're well, to start off, a big factor will be pending whether or not live shows come back. But if not, the plan is to just keep attacking with the great songs, great music videos, and then immediately be prepared to write more and just keep topping ourselves.
Yeah, every song gets a video, and every song gets its own little era, like a month or so of us, of us like pushing it up, putting it out, and we're sitting on a bunch of songs right now, and we're planning that out. That's the next order of business.
So I brought this up to a couple different people, and I've gotten mixed answers, and I feel both ways about it. So one of the things that I've noticed is that some bands are releasing albums, some bands aren't. But at the same time, the question remains, is a full-length album pointless these days, or is it a good idea? If you're putting out a concept album, it's a good idea, don't get me wrong. Yeah. But if you're just putting out 12 songs, wouldn't it be better to put out one a month over a course of a year and treat them all as singles? Or what are you guys thinking about that?
Well,
we debate this all the time.
Well, also, we don't want to reveal too much because we haven't made all the announcements yet about what we have coming. But I will say it falls more in line with giving each song its chance to kind of shine, its own spotlight. And I definitely think, especially with the no live shows, you really kind of gotta stretch it out and kind of go about it differently. You don't want to drop your whole load at once, and then it's like the rest of the year you don't have anything else to hit your audience.
Right. I will say, I love albums. My favorite.
Oh yeah, I'm an album guy.
Yeah, if my favorite band comes out with new music, I hope it's 12 songs at once that I can binge and listen to on the highway. But for us, and for unfortunately the way music is received by people, I think it's best for us to do like what he said and pay attention to kind of one thing at a time,
Kind of
and really try and make it good one thing at a time. Because if one of those things gets half-assed and you focus on it for a month, your audience is like you're that might be the breaking point. You never know. We just our goal, man, is to just And
I think at the end of it, once you're done releasing each song, drip feeding it kind of one at a time. At the end, you can kind of have it as like one whole package when you're at the end of the cycle. But I definitely think what he said, the best way to go about it is focus one at a time, make it as best as it could be.
100%. Again, I agree with the albums. You know, if one of my favorite bands puts out an album, I'm going to listen to it, cover to cover. Yeah. But at the same time, in a month from now, am I still going to be listening to it cover for cover? Or am I going to be listening, to my favorite songs?
Right.
But I might not. Who knows? But at the same time, if it's like a concept album, I can't go and listen to, Coheed, just one song. I have to listen to the whole fucking album, because otherwise it's like I'm missing part of that story. But at the same time, with like Coheed, I can't listen to an album without picking up a comic book and reading Amory Wars or something like that too. So my whole day is a shot if I decide to start listening to Coheed. But at the same time, it's like giving those little samples here and there, and you're just rocking out to a song for a month and enjoying that video, and just really kind of and then anticipation of the next one, and then anticipation of the next one. I like that as well. And in today's day and age, you can do that. 15 years ago, you really couldn't, unless you're going to put it out on LimeWire or Napster, and then but then you ain't making money, so it doesn't really matter. Yeah. So it's really hit and miss, and it really just depends on your audience and how you do with it.
I think it's interesting. I've seen even with the biggest artists, if their fan base is so huge, they can still drop a full album at once. But what I've noticed, even with the bigger artists, even when they drop a full-length album, they still follow it up like relatively quickly compared to how it used to be. So even they're realizing they have to hit their audience and content more frequently, I think.
Yeah, or even the bigger artists are dropping, instead of like 1 or 2 singles, now sometimes it's like 3 or 4 or 5.
Oh yeah.
And then they drop the full length, and the full length is only like 4 or 5 more songs.
I mean, even look at one of the biggest pop artists like Ariana Grande. Like, she's been dropping an album like, what is it, like once a year or something like that?
I hate her.
Which is crazy.
Me
you
too.
may hate her, but I think he's doing it the right way. I think every album is being a big event, so it's like, and she keeps hitting them with more. So I think that's kind of where it's heading anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that as well. But then look at Nothing More. Since 2013, they've released 2 albums. But then they spend a whole shitload of time on the road.
Yeah.
They're just now this week going to the studio to record their next album. The 3rd album that they've done in 7 years. They're just now, starting to do it. And the only reason I know that is because I was supposed to interview them next week, but then they backed out because they're in the studio. But I will have them on by the end of the month. And I'm anxiously awaiting that one. But anyway, so I mean, there's stuff to be said about the other way too. Really kind of pushing an album for a certain amount of time, and then once they get sick of seeing you 3 or 4 times on one tour cycle, then they're like, okay, we're ready for new stuff. Okay, we'll give you the new stuff. It's been 2 or 3 years. We'll give you the next one, because the last album for Nothing More was 2017. With Go to War, and now they're just now going in there now. So it's like, what? So it goes either way.
Yeah.
But at the same time, with people like Ariana Grande, who's got billions of dollars behind her with her label, not so much on the rock side with those types of bands too.
Yeah. And I think with Ariana too, like being a pop artist, her stuff probably gets washed up way quicker. Where like the band you're mentioning, or like somebody, a rock band can probably last a bit longer, but the pop stuff is just in everybody's faces 24/7 for like several weeks.
I mean,
and then we're already ready for the next thing. Like,
I mean, even
stop playing this song already.
even my favorite band, which is Blink-182, they just dropped their most recent album this time last year, and even a band like them, they're making music way more frequently and putting out songs more frequently, at least compared to how they used to. So I think rock bands are doing it too, to a certain extent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, Blink's a good example of that because they took a long hiatus too to let Travis do what his thing, whatever that thing was. I'm still trying to figure out what he did there. But I mean, but in the short period of time, Travis ended up becoming the biggest member of that group, and which was weird.
He just did that MGK album,
dude. We're listening to that album like crazy. I was never a Machine Gun Kelly fan, but I do like that album.
Over the last 2 weeks, I have talked to countless musicians, and every time, with the exception of yesterday with Emily, everyone's brought up this new MGK album.
Guilty.
Yeah, I mean, and it's weird. He's got that, rap, background. Yeah. Then, he kind of, got into a huge Twitter beef with, Eminem and got his ass handed to him. And then the next thing you know, he's coming out with his pop punk album.
Derek, tell me if you think, because I'm pretty much 100% decided. I thought about it for a long time. I'm pretty sure that was a completely orchestrated industry beef. And because I know Eminem dissed him and he got MGK got slaughtered. MGK dropped his EP after that, or with the rap EP. It flopped, and then I'm pretty sure Interscope was like, "Don't worry, here's Travis, here's some songwriters, and we're gonna have you go number one, do some rocks." I'm pretty sure that's what happened.
See, I'm actually on the.
They both won that beef. I feel.
I honestly think it was a little bit more to it than that. I think he did it completely on purpose from A to Z.
I don't doubt that either.
I think he actually went as far to plan this whole thing out and say, you know what, I'm either going to go big and completely crush this guy, and if I don't, it's going to give me an opportunity to go even bigger and change over, because he was a rock guy too. He's like Post Malone. He has a rock background, went rap, and now he's kind of going back toward that. So he was either thinking one of two things, in my opinion. He was either controversy creates cash, and either way I'm going to get destroyed and then jump over to do something else, or I'm going to win and I'm going to become even more famous on the rap career. Yeah. I think it was well orchestrated by him from the beginning.
Gotcha.
I mean, I think he's better at pop punk now than he was at rap. So.
Yeah, I haven't listened to the whole album. I've listened to a couple tracks on it, and it's pretty good stuff. I mean, it's not my cup of tea at all. Yeah. But at the same time, it's pretty badass.
I mean, as huge pop punk fans as we are, I think it definitely took us by surprise how good it actually came out. I wasn't expecting it to be as good as it was, considering it was his first time,
Yeah, dude,
pop punk.
I love pop punk. I grew up on it, but there's always been so many pop punk bands that I'm sick of.
Oh yeah, you can get burned out pretty quickly.
I'm just dude, that sound is.
Yeah.
Some people think oh, but you sound like that. But there's some stuff that I'm tired of seeing. You know what I mean?
With pop punk, there's a very fine line, I think, of having a sound where it just sounds really tired and stale, and being a little more creative with it. There's definitely room for more creativity in pop punk. I will say that, and I think the MGK album is a good indicator of that, and that's probably why it went number one.
Yeah, and that's the other thing too. And that's one of the reasons why exactly what you just said is why I'm not the biggest pop punk fan. Yeah. Now there's a bunch of pop punk bands that I do like, but I'm not in the scene as much as others are. Yeah. It's because of that. It does fall into some of the traps that pop music fall into, where it's overproduced, it's shoved down our throats. Go back to the early 2000s with Good Charlotte and NFG and stuff like that. NFG survived, My Chem survived, but Good Charlotte, which was the biggest at the time, is nowhere to be found.
Yeah, dude.
I mean, I personally love the late '90s, early 2000s pop punk the most. But I will say the most guilty era of pop punk where it was really getting out of hand. The amount of bands popping up that all sounded the same, I think, was when we were in high school. The kind of early 2010 era.
It was so bad.
There were so many bands coming up where it was the more like shouty pop punk singer thing. I swear to God, they all sounded the same.
The all-time low.
Yeah, and that's coming from a huge pop punk fan, which I am. Even I was getting burnt out. So it's like, you know, it definitely needs a big push.
Yeah, because during that time, there was a lot of, you know, where they had that pop punk sound, but then like, you know, I'm going to scream and do some screamo with the pop punk sound. It's like, that doesn't even make any sense at all. At least, you know, turn up your, you know, distortion a little bit, you know, kind of have a little bit more fun with it. But a lot of that stuff was weird back in the early 2010s. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like all of our friends in high school would be listening to the new modern pop punk bands, and me and Chris here would be repping the Blink-182s and Good Charlotte. So it's like,
but the thing is, like, now we already, like, I guess we're a pop punk band, but now we try to listen to a ton of different stuff. You know, like our producers telling us, like, listen to jazz, like listen to like everything you can, because, you know, you don't have to become a jazz band, but you might hear a song where you want to capture that vibe on your song, and then you're not coming up with the same washed up sound that other bands are coming out with. So we're trying, man. That's one of our goals for, like, our music that's to come out and our music that we're writing now.
I mean, I've always been a big believer as far as being a quote unquote pop punk band. I feel like there's way more that you can do in that genre than people think or what bands currently do. And I feel like I want us to be that band that, like, kind of reinvents the wheel a little bit, like try new things with you know, the pop punk influences that we grew up on. I think there's way more that you can do with the genre than people think or that the modern bands do. So that's what I've always believed.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you on that. There's a little bit more flexibility with that genre. I mean, there's a lot more flexibility with the rock genre in general.
Exactly.
You know, and you can kind of branch out and try different things. And then, but if you branch over too much, then you get a little flack from your fans, which again goes back to the original conversation. But at the same time, it's like, experiment, get different. You know, if you want to have a whole pop punk album, and then throw in one song of just sheer aggression screamo, fucking just to throw off your fans for a second and be like, oh, what the hell? You know, do it. I mean, have some fun with it. But at the same time, if you want to throw like an Ed Sheeran style song in there too, fucking do it.
Yeah. I mean, there's ways to do that and still be true to your fans. Like, I know, like, the latest Slipknot album, the song Spiders is so weird. It's not.
Oh my God, yes.
I really like the album.
I love that song. It's one of my favorite songs on that album, and I prefer Slipknot's heavier sound. So I really like when a band does do a different thing, like you said, but just nails it anyway. Yeah,
the Spiders was a weird one.
I love it though.
I love that song.
It's so scary.
I mean, our producer John has even told us, he's giving us the advice of, make the songs that we want to write. Don't be so hung up on what we think our fans want. You know, you gotta, at the end of the day, as an artist, you gotta write for you and yourself. You gotta write the songs you want to write, or else that's how your sound does get stale. And basically.
Yeah, exactly. Because, you know, a lot of fans, you know, give flack to artists for evolving too much, when in reality, the fans just aren't evolving. Yeah. You know, now, I mean, no, there's a lot of exceptions to that, you know, with Metallica and Load and Reload. That was definitely a case of way too much evolution. Please take it back a step. But at the same time, you know, like Avenged Sevenfold, You know, they've evolved over the years. You know, they started off as like a more of a scream core, a metal core, and then they kind of went into a heavy metal sound with, you know, Hail to the King, and then went back to almost their original roots with their latest album, you know, The Stage. So it's like, you know, it's you're allowed to do that. But at the same time, the fans have just got to realize, hey, you know, they're changing. So should I.
Yeah. I mean, I personally get really excited when one of my favorite bands comes out and says that the next album is going to be something we've never done before. I personally get more excited.
Yeah.
When one of my favorite bands is outright saying they're going to be more experimental. You know, whether you end up liking it or not, I would rather my favorite bands try and do new stuff than just give me the same songs over and over again.
100% agree. Yeah. You know, it's again that evolution aspect of things, because music has got to change. You know, it's great to hear, you know, a band never waver. You know, in certain aspects of things like Slayer, you know, they did the same thing for 35 years before they, you know, finally broke up. Yep. But at the same time, it's the same stuff for 35 years. Now, don't get me wrong, I love Slayer, and you know, they're one of the greatest thrash bands of all time. But at the same time, they did the exact same thing for 35 years.
There's definitely a few exceptions with bands where no effects. You know, there's definitely some exceptions where bands stayed successful without really evolving.
But you know what, bro? Like, Derek, like, I don't know how it is for you writing, but for me, sometimes once I write something, it's out of my system. I probably won't ever write something like that again. You know what I mean? Like if you write a certain vibe and you get it out,
I can see
you don't have to keep repeating it. That's just me, though. I don't know about you.
Well, also, I feel like whatever I bring to the table when we're writing as a band, once every member of the band gets their hands on it, it ends up coming out different than what I expected anyway. So, for me personally, at least.
Same.
Yeah, I mean, I remember back in my music days, back in the late 90s, early 2000s, when I was touring and, you know, writing music and stuff like that, it was, for me, it was, okay, how do we get harder? Okay, this song isn't hard enough. Let's go harder. I know you can kick that double kick a little bit faster. I know you can hit that snare a little bit harder. Come on, hit that, don't hit the hi-hat, hit the fucking crash. Let's fucking do this. You know, let's speed up that tempo a little bit. I mean, I can drop my voice down a little bit further. I can get a more of a guttural growl. Let's do this. And you know, I was constantly just looking for that harder sound. That was me. But at the same time, you know, I was like, okay, my voice hurts. Let's change it up a bit and let me just sing for a few minutes. But yeah, I get that. Once you get it out of your system, you know, let's try something new. Always. It's got to be, because otherwise your fans are going to get bored.
I mean, also as a songwriter, I would get bored personally if I was purposely writing the same songs over and over again.
Yeah, not just that, but you got to go and perform it too. Like, I feel like even actors, you got to resonate with the part you're acting in to some degree. If you don't, like, if you're really over some sound that you used to have, it'll show.
Yeah, I mean, look at another band like Hell Yeah. So that one had roots, obviously, in Sepultura with, you know, Ray Mayorga. It's also got roots with, obviously, Mudvayne and Pantera. But at the same time, it's like, you know, every album, every song is completely different than the next. You got some stuff that sounds like old, you know, Pantera, and they got some stuff that sounds like old, you know, Mudvayne. But at the same time, it's like, you know, it's got a little bit of twang, a little bit of country into it. It's a little bit of this, a little bit of that. You know, let's go ahead and not scream at all in this song. Let's scream nothing but song. And that's okay, because that's what, you know, fans have come to expect. But at the same time, if your fans aren't expecting it, that's also the best time to do that kind of stuff too.
Yeah, I would say just the consensus is, no matter what genre you're in, the best artists are usually the ones that evolve and switch it up. Those are the bands that usually stand the test of time, I would say.
Yeah, I don't know if they're the best artists, but they stand that if they do it right. Because then, like, I really like Def Leppard, but I wasn't around. Like, I don't know if I was probably just being born at the time. But when Nirvana came out and grunge became big, Def Leppard tried to do a grunge album, and after that, Def Leppard became like just like the 80s hair metal thing, and that's it. And they weren't like the in thing anymore. So like you can mess up big time trying to be something you're not. You know.
Well, I mean, Pantera. Let's talk about them for a second, because I mean they came out in the '80s during hair metal, and their first album was fucking hair metal, and then next thing you know they completely changed their sound. But I mean that's what happened. I mean there was a bunch of bands that started off as hair metal and then went into this whole alternate reality of things and brought along their fans and kind of introduced them to it. But grunge, I have a love-hate relationship with grunge because it ruined music for a while, but at the same time it spawned some of the greatest things ever. Like I've never said this on the show, and I probably will never say it again, and if you ever play this recording back to me, I'll probably never admit to it, but I cannot stand Nirvana.
Wow, dude.
I was never a Nirvana fan.
All right.
I just Kurt Cobain was too whiny.
Okay.
Musically, top notch.
Yeah.
Lyrically, I just couldn't do it. Now, I mean, even some of the older Soundgarden stuff I really didn't dig either. I just was never really a grunge person. Okay. However, fast forward to after his passing, and Dave Grohl saying, you know what, I'm gonna do the Foo Fighters, and now the Foo Fighters are now probably the biggest band in the entire world right now. If not in the top 5. Yeah. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Definitely, as far as rock bands go, definitely they're probably.
No, I would say that they're in the top 5 of everybody right now.
Yeah, Foo Fighters is something different, man. It's something else.
Like I've never been. Like I like Nirvana. I've never been like the biggest Nirvana fan, but I've always enjoyed their music. Like obviously it gets shoved down your throat, Nirvana, because...
Oh, dude, it's terrible what they did to Nirvana.
Oh, yeah.
Kmart and Kohl's and everyone wearing Nirvana shirts, they have no
idea.
I
could definitely see people being turned off by Nirvana just from the fact that it's shoved down your throat everywhere you go.
Dude, it's so weird because I read a weird thing the other day that was like, after you're dead, people will remember you, but they're not really going to remember you. They're just going to remember like this interpretation of you. And I wonder if Kurt Cobain would be like super pissed or like.
Well, I would tell you Kurt Cobain would be super pissed seeing himself on shirts being sold at friggin' H&M and stuff like that.
Oh my God. Because that was exactly what he didn't want.
Yeah, I know there was an interview with him flipping out because somebody, I forget who it was, some pop Madonna or somebody, her tickets were like $80 or $70, and he was like, $70? I forget the number. It may have been higher. Yeah. And I'm like, dude, wait, what if you only knew, man, if you only knew how it was now.
I think Kurt Cobain himself, didn't he hate the fact that his band was so big and popular at the time? Like,
probably.
Yeah, so.
He absolutely did hate it. He hated it.
I think he hated Smells Like Teen Spirit probably more than anybody.
Yeah, because that thing was on TRL for weeks upon weeks upon weeks, and he was like probably hating his life at that point.
Yeah.
It may have to do with why he did what he did, man.
Yeah.
And I do attribute a lot to it because, I mean, fame killed him, just like fame killed Janis Joplin and fame killed, Jimi Hendrix.
Yeah.
It's unfortunately it does that. But at the same time, again, and this is going to sound horrible, and I don't mean it to sound the way I'm going to say it, but their deaths made something great.
Oh, you're right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, we're still talking about Jimi Hendrix today because the stuff that he was writing in the 60s and playing in the 60s still applies to today. The political stuff that he was talking about, the anti-war stuff that he was talking about, the segregation and the way blacks were treated back then still applies today. His music still applies today. Kurt Cobain, without Kurt Cobain passing away, the Foo Fighters would have never gotten into existence, and I don't think Nirvana would have ever been as big as the Foo Fighters have been. You know, so I mean, while it was tragic, it spawned even bigger things.
Yeah, you're not wrong, man. Same with Tupac. Though a weird one for me, I'm a big Linkin Park fan, but a weird one is Chester Bennington, because like he was 40. The band was already one of the biggest bands in the world, and he died. And I guess like kind of the same thing you're saying happened. Like the music became a lot more relevant to a lot of people and got like a huge second wind, even though they were already such a big band. But I'm just like, damn, dude, you were 40, man. I'll never understand that stuff. So like,
Chester Bennington and his suicide was a failure of society.
Yeah, I hear you on that.
Huge. Because the thing about it is, go back and listen to every single one of his songs.
Yeah.
They were all a cry for help. And everyone thought he was just writing songs to write songs. Or, yeah, maybe there was a hint of truth to it or whatever the case might be. But nobody took it seriously. Yeah. And now it's like, and now he's gone. And, you know, people are just now realizing, holy shit, you know, in the end, it doesn't really matter. You know, he told us 10 years ago that he was going to do this. It just took, you know, his best friend, Chris Cornell, doing it first for him to finally set him over the edge. But again, nobody noticed it.
Dude, yeah, it's you're right. I hear what you're saying, but I also think it's tough to say because then, like, so many artists do write more emo, depressing lyrics. So, like, when you hear the new MGK album, which I'm a big fan of that album, I'm like, bro, you're singing about doing so many drugs that are your friends like, are you all right? Like enough rappers have OD'd at this point that I'm like, dude, why are you really singing about this? So like, so
I think
much.
it's hard. Sometimes it's hard to tell what's a cry for help and what's just an artist putting on an act or something.
But I will say, Linkin Park was some of the deepest, saddest lyrics. It really was, man.
Yeah. And, you know, because that's one of the things I enjoy talking about on this show, too, aside from, you know, entertainment, music, and acting and all that other stuff, is mental health. Because, you know, I suffer from bipolar disorder. I've had 2 suicide attempts. And, you know, it's one of those things where, you know, I don't like seeing that stuff happen. I mean, obviously nobody likes seeing that happen, but I take it a step further because I talk a lot about it on the show. I do a lot of advocacy, you know. I even have on my merch site, you know, mental health t-shirts that I donate 25% of the proceeds to charity for.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
You know, I'm a big proponent of mental health, and, you know, he talked about it for years, but it went unnoticed. Because again, so many people talk about it. It's the boy who cried wolf, you know. But now that he's done it, you know, and Chris Cornell and so on and so many others, you know, then we've got like again Falling in Reverse, who came out with Popular Monster last year. You know, one of the biggest songs of this year because it came out in December. But I mean, it nothing but mental health related in that. You know, the band Bad Flower. You guys, them?
They had that. I actually have heard of them. Yeah.
So they had a song about 2 years ago called Ghost, which was, again, an anti-suicide song. Then, you know, again, Nothing More had their song about his sister Jenny, or Jenna, but it was a song called Jenny. And, you know, all these different, you know, bands that have now done it, but again, talked about it, but again, it's too little too late. And we need to continue to push that kind of stuff because, again, we're losing too many people, period.
Well, Derek, first of all, man, I want to say I'm glad you're here, you know, after what you shared with us.
Me too.
So and then also, like, on that note, I think it's cool that, like, now, especially in the rock world, at least I'm seeing, they're sharing now the thing, like, it's okay to not be okay. Yeah. And, like, hope for the day and all that. So I'm glad that we're starting to say, like, yo, you good to each other. Mm-hmm. And like bands are starting to say that to their followers too, like, make sure you're good. Like, so hopefully, man, that one day we can like get like move, you know, like fix that sort of thing.
I mean, that's the ultimate goal. I mean, I can tell you right now, what's going on TV right now is not helping.
Yeah.
However, I got to give credit to the Canadians. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but there's countless memes on the internet right now, and there's countless people retweeting and putting up this exact same thing, talking about how, if you need an emotional support Canadian, we're here for you.
Nice.
If you do not have one will be assigned to you. Just reach out. It's hilarious. But this whole year has just been a. Did you ever see the movie Requiem for a Dream?
No, but hold on. Why does that sound like familiar? Is there a song there's a song about? I don't know. No, I never saw it.
Okay, hold on. Let me try to think of another one. It's like it's just a constant living in a nightmare type movie. Where you think you're gonna wake up and it's like maybe like The Matrix meets Inception type situation. But it's just nothing's happening, and it's just it's killing me mentally. If it wasn't for this show, I'd probably be in a rubber room right now. Because I'm also a stand-up comedian as well, and I can't perform either.
Well, dude,
so
isn't it crazy? Like, I'm sure you realize then how important it is for people to actually find a passion, because so many people don't end up really finding a passion for something.
You are dead on. And that's why I think this year, as far as being a creator, doesn't matter if you're a YouTube star, a TikToker, or a podcaster, a musician, an actor or actress, whatever, whatever. As far as being a creator goes, this was a great year for us because it's really allowed us to, reinvent ourselves or really hone in on who we are creatively. But the people that don't have that creative outlet have just been sitting idly by, either trolling the internet or just completely, not knowing their ass from a hole in the ground.
Yeah. Dude.
I feel for those people though. That whole 3-month quarantine, it really took a toll on some people's mental health.
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
For me, I just got to talk to a lot of cool people.
Yeah, dude.
And I'm one of the lucky ones. You guys are one of the lucky ones. A lot of artists have been the lucky ones, and the everyday average Joe, has suffered. But at the same time, I'm hoping that they've discovered woodworking, or maybe they picked up a guitar for the first time in their life, or maybe they've decided to spend more time with their kids, and because they're used to be a workaholic, something along those lines. I'm hoping that there was more than just, oh, woe is me.
Right.
It's like, I can speak for myself, even with our creative outlet during that quarantine, just the non-existent, human interaction. It's like it just does affect you in some way, even with the creative outlet. It was just a really, really weird time period during that quarantine.
Yeah, and it doesn't seem to be letting up anytime soon, and it's it's probably gonna get worse before it gets better again. But then at the same time, we can't go listen to comedy. Yeah. I mean, we can watch it on Netflix, or we can Google something on YouTube or whatever.
Right. Dude, it's not the same though.
Nothing's the same. Doesn't matter if it's it doesn't matter if it's a play. Doesn't matter if it's a concert. Doesn't matter if it's comedy. Or even a movie. Being stuck inside your house and doing everything entertainment-wise from your couch when you used to just, use it as a place to, eat dinner, fall asleep, and watch Family Guy. And now everything you're doing is there right now.
Yeah. So, dude, who are your top 3 comedians?
My top 3 comedians of all time?
Yeah.
George Carlin, Mitch Hedberg, and he's actually a newer comedian, but Anthony Jeselnik.
Okay, cool. Dude, I've been watching, like during the quarantine, man, I watched Steve Harvey, so much, dude. And I never really cared for him that much before this, but, dude, he's so funny. He has me dying sometimes.
Yeah, he's another good one. But, yeah, I just love, obviously, George Carlin.
Yeah.
I mean, I love that borderline, straight up offensive comedy. I love that dark. Should I be laughing right now or should I be, calling the cops type situation? I love that. Anthony Jeselnik's the same way. I mean, that guy, if you've never heard of him, look him up on Netflix.
Well,
He's, oh my
definitely
God.
gotta look him up now.
He tells. I'm gonna go ahead and give you one of his jokes just to kind of give you an idea of who this guy is. And I'm gonna butcher the joke, but it's gonna give you an idea of who this guy is and of why I like him. I just found out my ex-girlfriend's being beaten by her boyfriend. And they moved in together, and it pisses me off. I just can't stand that shit. It just really makes me want to go over there with a baseball bat and blame it on her boyfriend.
It's terrible, yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's the style of comedy I enjoy. Exactly. That whole left turn type of comedy, and it even has stupid jokes like, I used to have this girlfriend who had a parrot. And boy, let me tell you, that thing would never shut the fuck up. But the bird was cool.
I knew that was going to be the finish.
Exactly, yeah. But that's just how he is, and it's fucking fantastic. I love that kind of stuff. The darker, the better.
There's a lot of people that can't take those jokes,
Dude, once you get past it, like you accept, like, all right, this is some really over the top humor. Yeah. Then it's funny. Like what you get, in the right context. I think people gotta lay back. And,
I mean, he's the type of comedian that even makes fun of the fact of back in early '90s when Eric Clapton's son fell out of a 20-story window and passed away. Oof. Did you ever hear about that story?
No.
So yeah, Eric Clapton had a son. They were living on a high-rise tower in New York City, and I guess the window was open, and he walked up to the window, and he fell through it and fell out and died. So Anthony Jeselnik does a joke about that and says, I had a son once, but he died the same way Eric Clapton's son died, for inspiration. Because after that, he wrote the song "Tears in Heaven," which is his most famous song ever. So. He said for inspiration was the reason why his son died, and it's just that's the joke that he tells, and it's just hilarious because it's so fucked up. So that's what I like. I like dark humor. The stuff, like I said, where you don't know whether or not to laugh or file a lawsuit for discrimination or some shit. It's right. There's no in between.
I think there's a fine line between legitimately calling someone out who's just being offensive or being a dick and appreciating what's clearly just a ridiculous joke.
It depends on the context. Like if you're going to see stand-up and you get offended, then maybe you shouldn't have went out to see that comedian. You know what I mean? Like,
I mean, there was even a story from last year or 2 years ago about Steve Harvey. He was doing some type of racially sensitive joke. I don't know if it was about Mexicans or Hispanic people in general or something along those lines, but it was something about how if you're black and if you have an older black grandma, never bring home a Mexican or never bring home a Spanish person. Something along, I can't remember exactly what it is. It was something like that. Maybe I'm completely wrong too. You can tweet me, whatever. But there was a lady in the crowd that got. No, I'm sorry. It was George Lopez.
Oh, okay.
It was the opposite. It was George Lopez. It was the opposite. He was telling that joke, if you have an old Mexican grandmother, never bring home a black woman. Yeah. That's what it was. Okay, so it was complete opposite. But either way, this black lady jumped up out of the crowd and just went batshit crazy on him. Ended up getting kicked out. But it was just like, it was a fucking joke. I mean, but at the same time, that is mostly, I mean, as far as I know, that's pretty true in Mexican culture, but at the same time, it's old Mexican culture. We can't joke about the old days and just be fun of it because it's stupid. Right. I'm sure he was making that joke because of the irony of the situation, but it's just hilarious. I mean, people just take shit so fucking seriously, and especially nowadays with this cancel culture, people are gonna possibly listen to this episode and then go back and be pissed off at me just for repeating the joke. It's like,
all three of us are probably canceled already.
Nah. But,
I should have been canceled a long time ago. I'm surprised I still have a show. I still have sponsors, and especially the sponsors I have. I'm sponsored by the app BetterHelp, the mental health app. I'm surprised they still keep me around. They just signed me on for another year. Like, do you guys even listen to the show?
I think what gets lost on people is jokes like that George Lopez joke is like George Lopez is basically making fun of just how ridiculous that old culture is.
But he
exactly.
makes fun of himself too.
Exactly.
He's not making fun of people to really hurt him.
It's almost like people are thinking he's advocating or promoting that go. The point of that joke is just making you realize how ridiculous it is.
Exactly, but people are so one-track minded, thinking, oh, he said it, it must be true, or he must feel that way, and it's like, guys, calm the fuck down.
That's the biggest misconception, I think, with people getting offended by jokes.
The way I look at it is this. I've been hated for my jokes, but if I ever get so much hate that I get a death threat or somebody kills me for for one of my jokes or that right there, I just become comedy legend. It's whatever. So they can hate me all they want. However, where I draw the line at is my wife has gotten flack for some of the things I've said before. If anyone ever hurts a member of my family because of something I've said, even better.
Dude, you had me there. I was like, I'm getting serious now.
Nope. It's just, that's the truth. Yeah, I mean, whatever. Again, comedy legend right there.
Yeah.
But you guys are fucking badass, and I hope you guys come out of this on top. I really truly do. I mean,
you too, brother.
Again, like I said before, I'm not the biggest pop punk fan, but I dig your guys' music, and it resonates with me on another level. It's unlike other pop punk bands. It's not that same, constant, same bullshit that, like you were talking about before. Yeah. It's a completely different, it's newer. It's got a good vibe to it. It's one of those songs, one of those bands. You guys are just one of those bands that, a 40-year-old mom taking their kids to soccer practice could listen to, or a 15-year-old kid who has problems at home. It's one of those things. It's universal, and I just dig what you guys do, and I really, truly appreciate you guys.
Thank you so
Kevin,
much,
man.
yeah.
We appreciate the kind words, man.
Yeah, that's definitely the goal with how we approach our music. So I'm glad you feel that way.
Yeah, I mean, because I picked that up right away. And again, for someone like me who is trying to break that stigma of, guys, if you like rock, fucking like rock, like all rock, I'd be a complete asshole to say, man, I hate pop punk, but thanks very much for being here, guys.
Yeah, right.
No, because I listen to whatever I get in my email as far as like secret links and exclusive downloads and blah 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 blah. I listen to it all because I want to make sure that I give my true honest opinion. Because I would never bring somebody on this show that I didn't believe in, and and I take a lot of pride in that. I've just broke I'm getting ready to break 1 million downloads for September, and I don't ever want to, break that credibility because I want to make sure that everyone's on this show I believe in, and I believe in you guys. So thank you.
Thank you, boss. Appreciate that. Congrats on the September downloads, man.
Yeah, it's crazy number.
It's been so stressful.
Yeah, out on the line.
Yeah, but I appreciate you guys, and I would love to have you guys back again because you guys are just badass.
Oh, definitely, man.
We would love to.
Absolutely, man. Well, you guys take care. Good luck with the single, and whatever you guys do next, I'll be watching out for it.
Thanks, bro.
Thanks, man.
No problem, guys. You have a good one now.
All right, be well.
Peace, man. All right, guys. So that was our Thursday. I hope you had a good one. Those guys are just fucking badass, and I appreciate them talking about everything from comedy to music, man. That's what I love about this show. So, guys, take it easy and stay off the news. We're not going to know what the hell's going on for a couple more days. Just relax, enjoy yourself a fucking good podcast, enjoy yourself a good music album or whatever the case might be, but definitely listen to Boy Blue. That shit is badass. But until tomorrow with the band Lonely Youth, guys, stay happy, stay healthy, and as always, stay fucking heavy. We'll see you tomorrow. Peace!